Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's all about mind counseling, and Nkem Kelly joins us here today. It's a pleasure to have you back on our show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me back, Jill.
Well, please introduce yourself to our listeners and give us a little bit of your background.
Alrighty, thank you so much. My name is Nkem Kelly. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed professional counselor. I'm a life coach. I work with people dealing with life difficulties, transitions, communication issues with the family, different family dynamics, and I also do individual and professional coaching.
Wow. So you have amazing communication skills. I like to think so. Yes, you do. Don't be modest.
Okay.
Communication is key, right? And you
Yes.
help people hone their communication skills.
Yes. We all like to think we have great communication skills, but I believe we kind of talked a little bit about it last time. There's something lost in translation that we have to, work on, whether be it, active listening skills or clarifying questions to make sure that we're understanding what's being communicated with us, correctly, rather than inferring what we think is being communicated with us.
Got it. All right. Well, thank
Yes.
you for sharing that. And let's just
Yeah.
point out off the top your website. It's mindcounseling.com.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Perfect.
mindcounseling.com.
And so
Yes.
you work with individuals, you work with couples, you work
Yeah.
with so many different people. Let me ask you, is there a topic of interest for you today to share with your viewers and listeners?
Yes, actually today I'd like to talk about emotional pain. I have been hearing this come up over and over again, so I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about it today.
Sure.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So, emotional pain. Oh my goodness. Like I said, I've been hearing it come up a lot, and I started researching it. I kind of had an idea of what it was, but when I hear something come up over and over again, I look into it, and it blew me away, in my research for it. Emotional pain can be used interchangeably with psychological pain or mental pain.
Okay.
It's different from physical pain, and the way I would describe it is like if you fall down and you scap your knee or you broke your hand, you sprain your elbow or your ankle, that pain is because I fell.
Yeah.
Right. Emotional pain is different because you don't see why you hurt,
See.
but you
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Visible.
yes, it's an invisible pain, and people feel emotional pain in different parts of the body. And I did a lot of research, and I was like, okay, what could cause emotional pain? And a lot of things came up when, in my research. And I wanted to share a few of the
Sure.
things that I kind of saw, so it could be neglect, whether be it from someone or of yourself.
Mhm.
Right. It could be abuse, abandonment, loss of a parent, of a loved one. It could be the end of a relationship. It could be a separation or a divorce. It could be like substance abuse, loss of employment. There's so many things
Yeah.
that could cause emotional pain,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And, it's something that a lot of people keep their emotions in, like communication,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And that gets
mhm.
bogged down, clogged. What does that do to us by keeping emotional pain within?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question. A lot of people, you're absolutely right, internalize their emotional pain. They
Mm.
internalize their worries, their fears, and that's how it manifests emotional pain. And I was blown away. I kept looking into it, and I couldn't stop. Stress, emotional pain leads to stress, right? And then the stress or emotional pain shows up in different parts of our bodies, right? Sometimes you have that headache that won't go away, right? Sometimes you have that tension around your neck or your shoulders that's
Yeah.
just there, staying there, right? Or you have the knee pain, or just other parts of your body that you don't know what's causing it, but the pain is there. The queasiness in the stomach, that could be emotional pain. And people just internalize it, and they don't let it out,
Yeah.
right? And that's not good for us as human beings.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what can we do about it now?
Oh my goodness. So that is something that I love to talk about because a lot of times we do have the power to do something about it, but because we're busy, we don't stop to think about what we can do. I was asking myself, what would be a few things, because we do have this limited time to talk about it. I listed a few things, and I'm sure there are a lot of things people could, also think about doing. But the first thing that popped in my head when I was asking was like positive self-talk, right? Let's say, something bad happened or you're stressed out about, I don't know, work, relationship, traffic, we are a worse critic. We
Of
tend to
course
beat
we are. Yeah.
ourselves up. Oh my God, I was so stupid, right? I wish I did this other thing. And I've even heard people like hit their head. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's where your brain is, right? So I encourage people to do positive self-talk. Talk to yourself like you would your loved one. And
Mhm.
I can't help but think about, that child that you love.
Yeah.
Imagine like a beautiful, beautiful child, run up to you and cry and say, I fell down and I bumped my elbow. You don't say, you're so stupid. How could you be
Yeah.
so clumsy? You say, hey, sweetie,
Mhm.
it's okay. What can I do to help? You would give that child a hug, right? Exactly. So I'm wondering if we could do that to ourselves instead of the negative self-talk. Could we
Yeah.
talk to ourselves with love the same way we would our loved one or a child? Could we show ourselves that self-compassion,
Yeah.
you know?
That'd be
Um,
great because yeah, you know how I have a 4 and 6, so I could so relate to with what you're saying about the
yeah,
are you okay? And very motherly and very just and not even it's like you're really empathizing, you're really meaning it. You're not just sympathizing
yes,
and trying to but it's
yes,
that deep feeling of caring and
yes, yes,
you gotta
yes.
show someone that you really do care. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And that the word grace comes to mind. I always talk to myself and with people about grace.
That
Just
is great.
practice grace, grace to yourself. Just be very kind, be exceptionally kind
Hmm.
and loving towards yourself. Because you are with yourself 24/7.
Yeah.
Right? There are times when there's no one there to encourage you or pick you up. So
Mhm.
if you're with yourself more than you are with other people, how cool would it be for you to practice grace towards yourself, especially when you're feeling down and out?
Yeah, I've never thought
Mm.
about that. Not even trying to remember the word. I'm thinking grace. I'm thinking Princess Diana held such grace,
She
such
did, she did, she
but
did.
was a woman,
Right.
the people's princess, and just so
Yes,
full, and just
yes,
really
right.
cared about everyone and made time for everyone. And no, it doesn't matter what social class, what color, what
Hmm.
anything. And that's you're right.
Yeah, yeah,
Be graceful, and that's the way it
yeah.
should be. Yeah.
I love how you brought Diana into it, right? I mean, imagine how you don't even know her on an intimate level, but you felt the grace.
Feel that
You
you know.
felt the grace,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So imagine doing that to yourself every day.
Interesting. Yeah, you can become your own princess inside.
Yes, yes, you could. You
Yeah.
could. And another thing that I was thinking about, how to deal with emotional pain is definitely, taking deep breaths, because when we're stressed out, I don't know about you, I tend to hypervent a little bit, like my breaths get shorter, right? But in taking deep breaths, like literally sending the oxygen to your brain, you kind of feel like a cool breeze in your head, like you're cooling your brain. Your brain is like, I call it the engine of the body, right? It's a powerhouse. You take that deep breath in, you cool your brain, and then you blow out all the negative energy, the stress, the anxiety, the worries. And if you could do a couple of those deep breaths, it kind of cools you down.
Hmm.
And also it slows down your thought process, right? Because if you're thinking real fast, rapid fire, and you're breathing, you're slowing your thought processes down to the point where, you're calm enough to take care of
Yeah.
yourself, you know? And that's like another suggestion I have.
Okay. Good. That's a good
Yeah.
one for sure. And even if it's as simple as just a few minutes out of the day, it doesn't have to be a long meditation, half hour. Some people
No.
say that'll give them anxiety. I don't have the time. I don't have Okay.
Or you could start. I love that you said that. A lot of we don't have time, right? I mean, 30 minutes is not a long time, but it's a lot of time if you have a lot of things to do. So, so if you could take that 1 minute and take that deep breath, or I'll be honest, before I come on air to speak with you, I look at the time and I say, okay, I have 2 more minutes, I'm about to log on, and I take my deep breaths, because I want to calm myself down. I don't want to be nervous. I want to be able to talk about the things that I want to talk about without, I want to be focused. So my deep breaths help settle me in preparation for this conversation.
It clearly works for you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Yes, welcome. Well, thank you. Oh my goodness. I think that the other thing that is important for emotional pain is self-care. And self-care, I believe, is something that we all have to be intentional
Work
about.
harder on.
Yes, yes, yes. We're all working so hard. And I always say self-care is not selfish. I always hear people say, I have to be selfish right now. I have to do this. I'm like, okay, I have a little edit to that.
Mhm.
Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's self-care.
Yeah.
All right. The same way you would take care of someone else, you're taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
So I've had a lot of conversations about self-care, and I'm trying to talk about it in a positive way rather than, the negatives that comes with being selfish. It's very important for us to take care of ourselves. It's important for us to say yes when we want to say yes, and it's equally important for us to
Yep.
say no when we need to say no, right? And not feel bad about it. If someone says, hey, can you take me to the airport? I'm like, I have a podcast in 30 minutes. No, I cannot take you to the airport. I'm sorry. It's okay to say no.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a hard thing, I mean, for all of us, because then you're like, what you're always worried about what they're gonna think, what they're gonna say, but you
Yes.
are entitled to say no. You are entitled to take care of yourself. My goodness, because I've always said like in 2014 I stopped going to the gym. I got
Hmm.
pregnant and then I had my two kids and then I never made time to go to the gym.
Yes.
In almost 7 years now, haven't felt the same.
Mm.
Just January, so 2 months ago, I decided I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna walk
Yay.
around the block for a few minutes. I started walking like 5 minutes, and yeah, I'm not at a gym, but I'm doing something active. I feel better. I miss not that I did
Yes.
much at the gym anyway. I like cardio and walking, but I'm like walk around the neighborhood for a little bit,
Right.
2 times a week, 3 times a week. So
Yeah.
makes you feel good. And I always made excuses. Oh, the kids, they don't have time, the school, the work. So even just a
Yeah.
little bit can help you. And I'm a firm believer in that. And with self-care, I put myself to the wayside, which a lot of people do, especially parents, but
Yes.
you got to put that oxygen mask on first, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Yes, that is it. You have to put it on yourself before you put it on anyone else, because, if
Put
it's
it on
not on
you.
you, how are you going to take care of the kiddo?
Yeah, no,
You
it's
know? Yes, how are you going to take care of the kiddo? I really, really love that you started doing something different, because
true.
that's another part of it, right? People get stuck in the, well, I need to go to the gym. I like your edit to it. I may not have time to go to the gym, but I can walk around the neighborhood. I can walk around the park. And that's a good edit because you're still getting your exercise in,
And how do you
right?
get your self-care in?
Oh my goodness gracious. So self-care for me, believe it or not, is switching off of all my electronic devices. One of my self-care is switching off. I like what I call silencing the noise, because in as much as sometimes it's text messages or whatnot, it's a form of noise that
Yeah.
interrupts my thought processes or my rest, and a lot of those things almost make me want to react to it or respond to it. So sometimes I just shut things down so I can just not worry about everything, right? Because the world comes at us through electronic devices, emails, text messages, videos. That's one thing that I try to do, because I know that that time is very important. And like you, I love going to the park, because I'm not much of a gym person. I like walking in nature
Mhm.
because I like to hear the birds and I like to see the squirrels, and there's a little lake. Yes. Yes, there's a little lake. You walk around, you see the turtles swimming. So that to me is a form of self-care as well.
Ah, all right. So let me just remind everyone, give us your website, best forms of contact, please.
Yes, ma'am. So my best forms of contact is Nkem Kelly. Phone number is 361-878-8151. Email address is mindcounseling, MINECOUSELING @gmail.com. And my website is mindcounseling.com.
Great. Stand by. I'll be right back after this.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Nkem Kelly joins us here once again, Mind Counseling. Want to point out you work with individuals, adults, young adults. Give us a little bit more of the type of work you do. And obviously, do you have a certain niche, a certain area you like to focus on?
Yes, I do work with everyone. My niche, surprisingly, is like I like working with the older people.
Yeah.
I'm very effective working with children, but my niche is like 15 and up, because I find a lot of creative ways, to work on whatever goals they come to work with me on. So we work on, I think we talked about it, active listening skills, assertive listening skills.
Mhm.
Self-care is a very big one, especially in the past year, because a lot of people have a lot of emotional stress, worries, financial worries, whether you lost a job, whether you're looking for a job, there's a lot of stuff coming on. So we're talking more about self-care and creative ways to bring about self-care, just like you mentioned earlier, being a mom, you're busy with work and everything. How can we squeeze in a little time to put ourselves on our priority list? Because sometimes we don't even exist on our own priority list.
Nope.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
not a good thing, but it's true.
No,
You're right.
at all. So you said something earlier before the break, and I thought about it a little bit more. One thing that I learned from a very good friend of mine, I call all my friends who are therapists, their friends. I think a friend said it a while back and it kind of stuck. I was like, ooh, they're a friend. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So something I learned from a therapist friend is I block out times in the day for me. So literally in your planner or whatever, you just like put a box. I'm just going to throw out a random time and day. Let's say Mondays at 2 o'clock. I'll just put a square around that block time, and that's my time.
Wow.
The reason is if I don't block it out, I'm going to schedule someone. Right. I'm going to schedule a conversation with
All
someone. I'm
right.
going to
Yeah.
schedule a session. I'm going to schedule a meeting. But
Mhm.
if I block out that hour, I know that's my hour to do whatever I want or nothing.
Wow.
And the weird thing about nothing, that's also self-care. Doing nothing is
Nothing is
self-care,
self-care. Yeah.
right? Because you're resting. You're not replying an email. You're not running to the store. You're not cooking a meal. You're resting. We have to be intentional about what we do or what we don't do to take care of ourselves so
Mhm.
we can continue to take care of, the people that we love.
Yeah.
But the important thing is putting us in that priority list
Got it. I
because
mean,
we're not on it
make my
sometimes.
list too.
Hmm.
Bad.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
taking notes, but then my paper's full. So I said, it's not a bad thing to block out some time. I'm taking your tips too. I hope our
Yeah.
listeners are learning as well, but I am also learning from you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Sure.
Great. And
Sure.
anything else with self-care did you want to visit before we continue on, or was there anything else in your notes?
Something that I definitely wanted to touch upon is for us to listen to our bodies, because a lot of times our bodies are talking to us, but we don't listen.
Hmm.
And I'm really learning. I'm raising my hand because I'm terrible at listening to my body.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm really, 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 really tired, but a call comes through and I'm like, okay, hi, how can I help you? And I'm like, you're tired. You could have let it go to voicemail, so we need to listen to our bodies,
Hmm.
and let our bodies tell us what we need. I mean, there's this mind body connection. If your body's tired, it'll tell your mind, hey, you're tired.
Hmm.
If your body's hungry, it's going to tell your mind, hey, you're hungry, you
Yep.
need to eat. But a lot of times, because we don't listen to our bodies, we don't address the things that our bodies are trying to tell us. So I definitely want to encourage all of us, to start listening to what our bodies are trying to say and be intentional about responding to our bodies. I mean, if someone says, hey, Jill, are you hungry? You want to go eat? Yeah, come on. What you want to eat? Let's go to Starbucks. But when your body tells you that, what do we do? I'll eat. I'll eat 3 hours from now.
Yeah.
Right. So if we could start listening to our bodies are always talking to us, always telling us, what we need.
Yeah. And if something's wrong, stress,
Yes, yes, yes. If some, yep,
exhaustion,
exactly,
part of
exactly.
self-care, get your sleep, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that
yes,
all goes hand in hand for sure.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I love that you say, when tell us, yeah, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Good.
Oh my goodness.
Well, also, I know I love that sign behind you. Don't believe everything you think. Can you explain that? I could see it
Oh,
really clearly. Yes.
I love it because I put it there on purpose. I like people that I work with to see it, and
Yeah.
I'm
It's
always
great talk.
reminded of it. A lot of times a thought pops into our head and we run with it, right? We run with it. For example, oh, today I'm going to have a horrible day. I can feel it in my bones. I'm going to have a horrible day. And then we start looking for everything that could possibly go wrong. And then we ignore all the things that are going right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right, right. For example, I had a call earlier on, and a call came through, and I thought I wrote it wrong. I started freaking out. I was like, "Oh my goodness, did I write it wrong?" I looked at my plan. No, I'm sure. You're looking and you're freaking out, and you're like, "Wait a minute, why am I freaking out?" I've written things a lot of times before, so
Yeah.
if I wrote it at the wrong time slot, it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
True.
So again, I had to start talking to myself with the positive self-talk. I
Awesome.
had to tell myself, calm down.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. If you wrote it at the wrong time, you could correct it. What else could you do? You could send an email to make sure you have the right time. So we need to start slowing that mind when it goes crazy and say, calm down, calm
Yeah.
down. Because you thought it doesn't mean it's true. It's just a thought,
Yeah.
right? Now, what's the fact behind what you're freaking out about? So start challenging those thought processes with facts, right? instead of, oh my God, okay, what are you freaking up about? What are you freaking out about? And what can you do about it? And what can't you do about it? So that's that I put that there to remind myself not to run with a thought, rather to slow down, take a deep breath, and attend to the thought intentionally rather than reactionarily.
Now tell us, where are you located again?
I'm located in Houston, Texas. It's very centrally located.
Perfect. And so are
Yes.
you able to work now as a counselor? You're only able to work within Texas, but as a life coach, you work with people all over. Is that true?
Yes. So as a counselor, I'm only licensed in the state of Texas, so I can work with people in Texas. As a coach, I can work with people from anywhere. But I always, you know me, Jill, by now, I always put a very shameless plug for mental health. I always say, please, 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 please go to Psychology Today. Talk to your medical health providers.
Yeah.
They will send you a list of mental health care providers in your state who can work with you and attend, just be there with you. Whatever it is that you want to work on, they are there. We are here to help you.
Yeah. And you work on a sliding scale, right? You're back
Yes.
someone's in need of help, and I'm on the website, by the way, Mind Counseling.
Yay, yay, yay.
I
Yes. We do offer sliding scale. The thing about sliding scale is, we offer sliding scale for people who may not be able to afford like full fees. But for private practitioners, it's kind of limited. So there are bigger organizations who can offer more sliding scales. So I always encourage clients to talk with, when they talk to a therapist, that's one of the questions you want to ask. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because I totally forgot to mention.
Well, it's good to know. And then you offer different coaching packages, correct?
Yes, yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And in closing today, what else do you want people to know about Mind Counseling, about you as a counselor, you as a coach? I know self-care we're going to promote, but why else should we be calling you?
I think that people should call me because I do care. I bring my whole heart to my sessions. I always make sure that when I work with my clients, I put everything else on the shelf, right? If you're in front of me, you're the only person I'm thinking about and talking to or about or with. I always personalize my care to the individual or the family that I'm working with, and I make sure that, they're working on the goals that they want to come to work on. I don't ever come in with an agenda. The reason is my plans may be different from what you plan on working on. So I always come and meet you where you are, and whatever it is that you want to work on, that's what we tackle.
Beautiful. And how can we contact you?
My phone number is 361-878-8151. My email address is mindcounseling@gmail.com, MINECOUSELING. I have to close my eyes because sometimes I put two L's there instead.
Yep.
Yes. And also, you said something last week that got me thinking. And in the moment, I was like, oh my God, I can't remember. I have an Instagram page. It's Mind Counseling.
Perfect.
It escaped me last week. I was really nervous talking to you. I won't lie. I was so nervous. I was like,
you
oh my God, what's
never
that?
know. You're like a pro. Oh my, and Nkem Kelly. So again, we can find you Mind Counseling. See, it slipped your mind. It happens to all of us. And I want to thank you for your time today, for sharing everything with us, and hope people reach out and again do realize the importance of mental health. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And
All right,
looking forward to our next conversation. You too.
Thank
you
you
have
so
a great
much.
day. And everyone else, stay tuned. Of course, more of the show's coming right up after the break.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.